Exporters webinar. I want to begin today by thanking all of our sponsors, the Arkansas Economic Development Commission and the Arkansas Manufacturing Solutions. Without their contributions, we would not be able to host these webinars and help educate the exporting community. So thank you to both the AEDC and AMS. I really appreciate you all joining us today. For those of you who aren't quite sure who the DEC is and what we do, allow me to do a quick introduction. We're a private nonprofit organization that brings together experienced international business people with potential exporters. Each member of the DEC has been appointed by the U.S. Secretary of Commerce for their real-world international expertise. We have a ton of experience within our council in many different sectors. Now, having said that, we don't know all the answers, but we can introduce you to someone that does. So you can look at us as a community of connections within the exporting world. My hope for the day is that you walk away from this webinar with a little bit more confidence in your exporting abilities. And if you have any questions at the end of the webinar and you don't feel comfortable asking them here, I invite you to reach out to us on our website, exportarkansas.org, and we'll have one of our members reach out to you directly. Basically, we want to be a strategic partner that can help you grow your exports, which helps grow your bottom line. Now, real quick, I also want to bring to your attention and invite you all to join us for the 13th Annual Governor's Award for Excellence in Global Trade, which we are hosting Friday, October 6th. You're about to be bombarded on the social medias asking if you want to join us. You'll notice some registration links on there. The awards dinner starts with a networking reception for the Arkansas business community. And it's going to be held at the Doubletree Hotel in downtown Little Rock. Secretary of Commerce Hugh McDonald will be speaking and will be recognizing 5 Arkansas businesses for their exporting achievements. A little shameless plug there, but I do hope that you join us. As we begin, I'd like to remind everyone to keep yourselves muted and raise your hand if you need to ask a question. That way we don't have any background noise interrupting our speakers. So thank you all for your help with that. I'd like to introduce everyone to your moderator today, Mr. Rudy Ortiz. Rudy has recently retired from the AEDC and is the previous chairman of the DEC. Today, he owns Strategic Business Services, where he helps companies in a wide array of international business and exporting needs. He's a partner with Cross Border Business Consultants, which is a global team of international business consultants working together to help companies to initiate business activities in other countries. For this reason, Rudy is the DEC's education chair. Rudy, thank you so much for always spearheading these educational webinars. And with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Jonathan. And, thanks for the plug on the Governor's Awards. Obviously, it's an incredibly important event in terms of recognizing the people in Arkansas, the businesses in Arkansas that have really excelled in moving their exports forward. And as you know, the wealth of Arkansas is built on bringing business from elsewhere. So that's why exporting is so important to the state of Arkansas in terms of its economic viability. I also want to start off by letting you know that we're going to have 2 speakers, one with the Export-Import Bank of the United States, Michael Wiggins, and also Reginald Harley, who's with the Small Business Administration. And we're going to bring on Michael in just a second, but I want to tell you a little bit about him. He's the account manager for the Export-Import Bank. And he has about 30 years in the banking industry and working with U.S. exporters to try to offer attractive terms that are going to allow the Arkansas companies to win business and to work with the bank so that they can grow their business as well. And I've been working with Michael now for, I guess, about 2.5, 3 years or so. He's a great guy, easy to work with, and very interested in helping you be a success. And so, Michael, with that, I would really appreciate it if you would take it away.
Great. Thank you very much, Rudy. I'm getting a message that I can't share my screen while another participant is sharing.
Okay.
Let's see.
I just dropped mine.
Okay, great. Now I think I can share. Okay, everyone see that screen, how XM supports Arkansas exporters?
Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Let's see. Now let me make sure I can, this one's not going down. Let me stop share and try another one. Just a second. Let's try this again. Let's try this version. Okay, now we're in business. Okay, so who are we at XM Bank? Well, XM is a U.S. federal government agency. We're the export credit agency of the U.S. government. Our job is to support American jobs by facilitating the export of U.S. goods and services, and we do that in a number of ways. We try to fill in gaps and complement private sector lender and insurance offerings. So we try to help the exporter win more export business by offering competitive terms that they cannot do with just the support of their lender or private credit insurance by itself. We take more risk. We tend to be involved in longer tenor transactions as well. And so we're here to help you compete against foreigners that might have, foreign exporters that might have supported their governments. And in that way, we level the playing field for U.S. companies competing for global sales. We want to help the U.S. exporter offer credit terms with minimal risk to the exporter that help the exporter compete with other countries' exporters that have the support of their governments. Congress does require that we authorize transactions with a reasonable assurance of repayment. So we're always looking for a reasonable assurance of repayment in any transaction risk we approve. We're also required by Congress to stay under a default rate ceiling. So we are required as our banks to perform in terms of credit quality and minimize defaults. And to do so, we closely monitor our credit portfolio and the other risk in the portfolio. We basically have two groups of products to help small business in Arkansas. The first is export credit insurance. And of course, there's private credit insurance in the market as well. But U.S. exporters normally reach us through an insurance broker. And we have a number of brokers referred on our www.xm.gov webpage. You can do a broker referral and find a broker in your area, or we can refer a credit insurance broker that helps you find the right credit insurance policy for you, be it with us or with a private credit insurer. But where we tend to thrive and really help the small business is focusing on small businesses that want to pay lower premium amounts than the private insurers charge. We also are willing to take risk on riskier countries than the private insurers are willing to take. Private insurers don't generally like single buyers because of the concentration of credit risk, whereas we will approve single buyers, even if your customer abroad is a small business. And we also don't shut the door during economic crises. We stay in business. Economic crises in the U.S. or abroad, we try to stay in business regarding those abroad, try to stay open in those countries as long as we can. And of course, if there's an economic crisis in the U.S., we do stay open. We're usually the preferred credit insurer during those times. So those are some special gaps that we fill in as credit insurer. We also have a working capital loan guarantee for banks. And in that case, we're providing the lender a 90% loan guarantee to finance an exporter's accounts receivable and inventory. So if you had a company that had 70% of its sales domestic in the U.S. and 30% of the sales were export, The lender might have two lines of credit for that exporter. One line of credit might be to finance the 70% US receivables and the inventory, and the other line might be to finance the 30% foreign receivables and inventory. We can guarantee the financing of those foreign receivables, whether they're credit insured or not, which is a great advantage to that program because some exporters don't want to get credit insurance. You might ask, well, how do you determine whether the inventory goes under the domestic line of credit or the Ex-Im Bank working capital guarantee line? We allow the lender to use the percentage of sales method. So if sales are 70% domestic in the US and 30% export, then the lender each month would apply 70% of the inventory number to the borrowing base for the domestic line and 30% of the inventory to the working capital guarantee line. So there'd be two lines of credit, two monthly borrowing bases, and the lender would finance percentages of accounts receivable and inventory. And our line of credit would allow the exporter to borrow much more against those same accounts receivable and inventory than the typical domestic line of credit. So the working capital guarantee is fabulous for the bank in that the bank gets a 90% guarantee of the US government. And it's great for the exporter because he gets to borrow more money against accounts receivable and inventory than he would otherwise. We are very small business focused at Ex-Im Bank. About 90% of our transactions are for small business exporters. Maybe some years 95% or more. No company or transaction is too small. So want to make sure everybody appreciates that. We've supported transactions of just a few $1,000s. So there's nothing too small for us to help you with. We're very small business focused. We have a small business mandate by Congress, and we take it very seriously. And my group is part of the Office of Small Business, which is one of the largest sections within Ex-Im Bank. So if you're an exporter, you may be used to asking for cash in advance or letters of credit. When I go to trade shows and I corner exporters and I ask them how they're exporting now, they undoubtedly will tell me, well, I only sell to foreigners on cash in advance and letters of credit. And my response to that is, if you can keep doing that, fabulous. If you can maximize your export sales by only accepting cash in advance or letters of credit, do that. Do that all day long. There are people in some industries where their product is in such demand and they have so few competitors that they're able to do that. But other folks will normally find eventually a very good business opportunity they don't want to pass up, but where the foreign buyer is not willing to pay cash in advance or letter of credit. Because as you see on that risk spectrum, that's the highest risk for the foreign buyer. The lowest risk for the foreign buyer is for you to ship the product to him on open account and accept payment in 30, 60, or 90 days. And so if you start to feel like to maximize your sales, you need to offer open account terms to foreign buyers. That's where we come in to help. We help you mitigate the risk and we help you get those receivables financed. So if you look at the products that we offer small business, they kind of break into these two categories, helping you with the risk of buyer non-payment and helping you with access to cash flow. So how do we help you protect yourself against buyer non-payment if you're going to offer 60-day terms to that foreign buyer in Colombia, for instance? We do that with our export.
Happened.
Looks like he may have frozen. Let's give it a second here. Michael, just in case you can hear us, it looks like you froze up.
Yep.
There's this lady out here looking for Dale, and this is her card.
Chuck, could you go ahead and
Dale had a quote for the insurance for the facility.
Mr. Chuck Mills?
Mr. Mills, could you go ahead and shut off your mic?
Or something.
Hang on.
Thank you. Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's give Michael just a couple of seconds and see if he comes back up, and if he doesn't, then we will go ahead and go to Reggie and go back to Michael if needed.
Looks like he
Alrighty.
dropped off, Rudy. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so let's go ahead and Reggie, can you go ahead and jump on, please? Okay, so yeah, very good, thank you. So as it turns out, Reggie is the export finance manager with the office of the SBA Office of the International Trade at the Small Business Administration. And he, in conjunction with his colleagues at the regional office here in Little Rock, basically over all of Arkansas, is the person that's going to be able to help with financing and different resources for international trade. And so, Reggie, let's go ahead and get you on, and we'll work through your presentation, and then we'll jump back on with Michael if we're able to. So thank you so much for that.
Okay, let's see if I can
Okay.
so
Yeah, you're on slide 5 right now.
yeah. I don't actually see the controls here for. Oh, there they are. I'm so sorry. Okay.
All right. Very
I'm
good.
so
Thank
sorry.
you. No worries, Reggie. Very good. Thank you.
And thank you, Rudy, and thank you, Jonathan, and Heidi as well, and all those that have put this together and made it the type of program that it is. Let me say a thank you as well to those who have taken the time to attend. And if you that what you heard from Michael from XM, as far as I'm concerned, is the holy grail when it comes to exporting, especially for a small business, because that in particular, the export insurance program that he's talked about is something that, from our vantage point, as Mike pointed out, it helps us sleep at night. It helps the bank sleep at night, and it should help you sleep at night if it's something that you put in place to support your sales. So I hope you took really good notes, and at the very least wrote down the website and Mike Dwiggins' contact information. If you don't have it, then I'm sure that Rudy and Heidi will make sure you can.
Absolutely.
You will.
At the end of the program, we will have everyone's contact information. So
Yes.
No worries.
Yes, it is just the type of mitigate that makes a difference in transactions, and the cost, as he may or may, I don't know if he got to the cost, but it's worth every penny that it may cost. And as he pointed out as well, whether it's through the XM Bank or through a private insurance company, it's still a really good price. And of course, the idea of offering payment terms means that you probably are going to have to add a little bit more cost to your product or your service, but you can build that in as well, the cost of the insurance. So it just makes perfect sense. XM is a sister organization to the SBA, and we work hand in hand to support the exporters. All right, that said, we have programs that are guarantee loan programs, just like the XM. We try to provide those guarantees where lenders feel as though without the support of the government or some entity like SBA behind them, they just don't have the comfort level to offer financing for exports, so that we're there for that purpose. Again, one of the other things that Mike pointed out is that it isn't unusual. Many developed countries throughout the world offer these same kinds of programs to their exporters. And so that when having programs like that, which XM has, and that which the SBA has for exporters, we put those in place in order to make sure that our exporters are as competitive, if not more so, than those in the rest of the world. So that it's for that reason and others that we provide this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these slides that just kind of give a reason why exporting makes sense. But it is a reality. The world is becoming smaller and smaller, and opportunities to sell abroad or beyond our own shores are more and more available, and it's becoming somewhat more easy as time goes on, especially with the advent of technology around communication and technology around transporting items, and of course cost reductions in transporting items beyond our shores. I'm going to skip through this because the basic reason that I assume that any business out there is exporting is because they found an opportunity to sell their product and or their service abroad. It's just that simple, and that you want to take that on as a part of your maybe diversifying of your revenue sources. And SBA has a bit of a different definition than you may think of an export transaction. And then I put that here just so that you understand that we have a definition that's a little more expansive than what one may think. They basically say an export transaction is I gotta move that here, production and or payment associated with the sale of goods or services to a foreign buyer. It's even broader than that, because we feel that we'll define an export by virtue of where the payment is coming from. If the payment is being made by a foreign buyer, then we consider it an export. We have situations where we have a foreign buyer, let's say in Sweden, who purchases a product in Arkansas, has that product shipped to a facility that the Swedish company has in Tennessee, and then it is used in Tennessee to manufacture goods. While that product that the Arkansas seller never left the United States, we still consider that an export because it was paid by a foreign buyer. We also have what's called an indirect export. Let's see if I can advance my slides here. And in indirect exporting, these are opportunities where we have businesses here in the United States that sell to other domestic businesses that actually export. So that the example that we often use is the one of and I actually just did one where we have a company that manufactures the interiors of airplanes, and they sell those manufactured sort of plastic forms to Boeing in Seattle. Seattle incorporates that into their aircraft, and their aircraft is by and large then sold abroad. The programs that I'm presenting to you today all allow for businesses that do that kind of indirect exporting. We have some things that are prohibited, transactions that are prohibited, and I just want to make sure that we at least put that out there. There's what's referred to as a country limitation schedule, and there are certain countries that we just consider no-go countries, and so I want to make sure that you know about those. There are some people to whom we don't sell, and there's a list that is at the OFAC sanctioned list. You can find that. And those people too are those that we consider bad players in the world, and we don't want to sell to them.
Yeah, and Reggie,
Yes,
I think the OFAC, for those of you who don't know, is the Office of Foreign Asset Controls, and so that's what OFAC sanction means.
Thank you, Rudy. Yes. And then finally, we also have a couple of different areas or industries where the SBA, at least as it relates to export financing, we can't provide. And that would be in the general area of accommodations. Usually we're talking about hotels in that regard, and also with gas stations, because we have had in the past, say for example, businesses, gas stations along the border with either Mexico or Canada who sell to those who are from Mexico and or Canada, and have tried to access our loan products through that. If I didn't say so, what I think I should have mentioned is we offer loan guarantees, and those guarantees are offered to lenders out there in the community, and we work with the lending community throughout Arkansas and across the nation in order to be able to provide those guarantees. And so that if you were to walk into your bank and discuss a project or an opportunity that you have to sell your goods or your services abroad, what we would hope is that that lender has attended one of our webinars or has just gotten themselves enough information and understanding to be able to think about as a option the SBA loan guarantee program as a way to enhance the credit or the loan that you may be discussing with them. If that has not been the case and they look at you kind of glassy-eyed, like we don't have any idea how we can support this, then you can get in touch with me and I can give you a list of lenders in Arkansas or throughout the nation that will understand this and be able to provide you what they need in order to be able to consider your transaction. SBA supports the capital your business needs to grow international sales. And so that's all I was really saying, is that what we try to do is just provide the enhancement to the lenders so that they know what they can do in order to make the deal happen. This is just a visual representation of the sales cycle, international sales cycle. You can look at this at your own time. This is something that's going to be provided to you at the conclusion of this presentation. I don't think I'm the first one to mention this, but there is what's called the State Trade Enhancement Program. The state of Arkansas has, for the past few years, been successful each year in applying for and receiving this grant. The purpose of the grant is to provide a reimbursed grant to businesses that are either exploring the idea of exporting or are actively exporting. This is a grant program that is available to those that are doing that, and it is, I don't have the specifics of how the Arkansas program is designed, but it is being offered through the World Trade Center in Rogers, and you can contact them, and I know that from their website, they will be able to provide you the application and the guidelines and the dollar amounts for this program. But it is one of those programs that has made a difference for a number of businesses in Arkansas who have either been exporting or are just exploring the idea of exporting and just need some additional capital in order to be able to attend trade missions or trade shows or enhance or optimize their website and any number of other ways that the monies can be used up to a certain dollar amount. So I would encourage any who have not heard about this to visit the World Trade Center website, which can then tell you more about the program.
And Reggie, to your point, the young lady at the World Trade Center in Rogers that handles that program is Trish. And if you'll contact the World Trade Center and ask for Trish, she'll be able to give you all the different details of the program. But I will tell you, just as Reggie has mentioned, it's a fabulous program to be able to further enhance your capabilities to do international sales. You can internationalize your website with funds received from the STEP grant. You can make it so that it's translated, and so it's regionalized or it's localized depending on what you're doing. You can go to trade shows, trade missions, and so the funds can be used in a number of ways. And so to not take advantage of the STEP grant, boy, I tell you what, you would really be leaving money on the table, because it is a fantastic program.
That's right, Rudy. It is. And again, Arkansas has done a fantastic, World Trade Center has done a fantastic job in administering that. And so that we just want to be able to promote it so that those of you out there know that it exists. The other aspect, and this isn't a grant that the SBA provides, so it's again just one of those tools that you should have in your tool chest when it comes to exporting. The other programs that I have that I want to mention are our loan guarantee programs, and I just went over the STEP grant, and I will just continue on from that one to the loan programs. We offer 3 loan programs that you saw on a couple of slides before. One is the Export Express. And so I'll just start with that one. In general, what we do, again, is work with lenders who want to work with you. And they go through what they need to in order to understand our loan programs, and then be able to offer them, to originate those programs, to service the loans themselves, and then to, if necessary, of course, handle them through the life cycle of a loan. They offer these in addition to that which they may do conventionally, with the understanding that maybe as a small business, you, especially when it comes to a foreign transaction, and some that are very seasoned businesses, that the lenders just can't get real comfortable with. It just doesn't fit in what they have as their lending box, if you will. And so that in order to make that box bigger, just to keep with the analogy, they can add a guarantee to that from the U.S. Small Business Administration. And that guarantee is anywhere from 75 to 90% of the outstanding balance of a loan. And as a result of that, they will do a deal that they might otherwise decide to pass on. The Export Express loan is one that has a loan limit of $500,000. It can be used for these reasons that you see here for export development. Again, some of those things that we talked about with the STEP program, the participation in foreign trade shows or the translation services, etc. And these kinds of things, it could be a matter where you use your Export Express line of credit, let's say, that you've gotten. You can pay for these, once you have the line in place, pay for these things, the trade show or your translation services or the optimizing of your website, and then be reimbursed up to a percentage of that from the STEP grant that you receive. So you can use these programs as part of an overall strategy for your business. And again, as Rudy pointed out, it's basically free money. And so that it doesn't make sense not to do it. The whole idea from our vantage point is to have you in a better position to compete in the international marketplace. Going back specifically to the Export Express, export development, financing your export orders, whether it's buying the inventory that you need or paying your staff along the way, it can be used for those purposes. Freeing up cash, or if you need what are referred to as letters of credit, then it can be used for that purpose, offering bonds, payment or advance payment bonds or performance bonds. Or it can be used to purchase fixed assets. So equipment or smaller real estate projects, those are all eligible uses of proceeds with the Export Express. Again, it's up to $500,000. And we then have the Export Working Capital Loan Program. This is a second of our suite of programs that we offer. This is one that is more for seasoned exporters or someone who already has say a purchase order or a contract in hand and is now looking to be able to finance that. for the reasons that Michael had talked about, the fact that you're in most instances offering payment terms, and so that while you may have to manufacture the goods and buy the materials that you need in order to do so, and pay your people and pay your overhead costs, and then it's going to be 60, 90, 120 days before you get paid. And so the working capital that you may need may be in the form of a loan that you can get from a lender, and then be able to cover those costs and then repay the loan once you get paid by your foreign buyer. Again, this one is up to $5 million, a much larger loan maximum. Up to a 90% guarantee is what we're offering the bank in order to entice them to provide this to you. It can either be for the purpose of supporting one single transaction or multiple transactions. One line of credit that can be used for that, either of those. And it can be for the purposes that you see here, most of which I mentioned for the Export Express, financing your export order, or for offering letters of credit. The final one I have here is the international trade loan. This is a term loan. The one I just mentioned prior, the export working capital loan, is a revolving line of credit. This term loan has a $5 million maximum. It can be used for the purposes that you see here to purchase fixed assets. It can be used to meet your foreign product standards or licensing needs. It can just be working capital, permanent working capital, or for acquiring a larger facility if you need a larger warehouse space. It can also be used to help with the purchase of a business. So for acquisition purposes, the loan can be used in that regard as well. I have a couple of success stories that I've gotten here, and I don't know if it would be necessary to go through these. You can just read them at your leisure. But these are real life opportunities that took place where we were able to provide the financing for businesses in one or more of these loan programs, and using the STEP program with them as well. And so you can look at those at your leisure. I just want to conclude by saying the next step for you, if you've absorbed some of this information, your next step is simply to get in touch with me if you have any other questions about these, especially if you're looking for another lender that you can work with that's going to provide that which you're looking for, or you're looking for just some guidance on how to structure a transaction, or some other resources that are out there in the community that might be helpful to you as you embark on your trade odyssey. And with that, I think I've concluded my presentation. I am open to any questions that you may have about that which we offer in the way of our SBA loan guarantee programs or the STEP program, to which where I hope I can help you as well.
So Reggie, in the interest of getting Michael back on, we're going to hold off on the questions if we can, because Michael still has some information that he wants
Absolutely.
to pass on. So Michael, if you are able to, Reggie, go ahead and stop sharing, and that way Michael can do so, and we will ramp back up.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me do that just a second here. Do you know where it was that we got disconnected? Do y'all remember which screen it was?
I think you were like on your 4th or 5th screen, I think.
Okay, let me try this again then. I should have
Michael, you were on what's stopping your business from exporting, whatever number.
okay.
Number 7.
Okay, well, number 7. Are y'all able to see this now?
Yes.
Okay.
Got it.
Great. And I will be more cognizant of if I lose you guys. Let's try to get back where we were. Do you remember did we get here?
Yes, I think that's where we were at.
We didn't get the country limitation schedule.
No.
Okay, so let me see if I can go back here. Like the SBA, we're going to talk about credit insurance again in just a second. It covers 95% of your invoice value for the terms that you offer your customer. And the Working Capital Guarantee Program is similar to the SBA's program. We do not have a limit on the upper end. We do not have a $5 million limit. Our Working Capital Guarantee gives the lender 90% coverage. And I talked a little bit earlier about the Working Capital Guarantee Program, so I won't go on about that in the interest of time. It is important that you all understand our country limitation schedule. If you go to Google and you put country limitation schedule in Google, this is the only thing that can come up. There's no other creation with the same name. The country limitation schedule tells you where in the world we're open for business, which is most places. Way over 100 countries we're open for business. But in some, we're prohibited from doing business by law, like North Korea, Cuba, Iran. Others we don't do business in because of economic reasons, like Argentina. But you'll need to check this country limitation schedule for any country you're interested in where your foreign buyers are located. And when you pull up the country limitation schedule, you can pull up a particular country's name. If you saw the whole country limitation schedule, this is what it looks like. It tells you whether we're open or closed for private sector risk and public sector risk, and for different tenors. So you can see in Afghanistan, we're closed for everything. And Antigua and Barbuda, we're closed for everything in the public sector, but we're open in the private sector. If you see an X, we're closed in that sector and for that tenor. The notes to the right-hand side of the page, you should click on to read what it says individually about the country. In a lot of countries, we require that a commercial bank guarantee the private sector risk and that the Ministry of Finance guarantee any government risk. That's the case in probably half the countries in Africa, for instance, and in other places as well. But you would click on the individual note to see what's required for that particular country. And you should check the country limitation schedule before you seek Ex-Im Bank coverage on any given country. Heidi will be sending y'all the presentation, so you'll be able to see this chart to the right more clearly. But basically, when you're trying to qualify a foreign buyer, basic qualifications are that the buyer's been in business for at least 3 years, a favorable trade reference, favorable ledger experience if you've already been selling to that buyer, and a favorable credit report. So if you've already been selling to that buyer, we will want to know your ledger experience. Has that buyer paid you in accordance with the terms that you offered? But in general, you can often get credit limits up to $500,000 with just a good credit report, because the credit report may include a favorable trade reference, for instance. So this chart, when you get the presentation from Heidi, you can take another look at this chart and see what's required for the size credit limit you are seeking. That's what this refers to. It says up to $100,000, you need the information noted there, up from 100,000 to 500 and over 500. These are credit limits that you're seeking for a given customer, for an individual customer. Our credit insurance, which can be mixed with the SBA products, which can be used with our Working Capital Guarantee Program, or can be purchased just on its own, just to protect you on its own, covers almost all risks that you can imagine: insolvency, bankruptcy, protracted default. Protracted default is the one exporters file claims most often under, because they don't want to wait till bankruptcy or insolvency. They just want to file a claim when they haven't been paid on time. And then we cover the political risks that are noted there as well. It's very important to remember that we do not cover dispute risk. If the buyer is refusing to pay you because he says, I ordered blue items and you sent pink, or I ordered the medium size and you sent tiny, or there's an argument about the quality of the product or anything else about what was ordered, those disputes are not covered with the buyer. So we're covering the buyer credit risk, but not underlying product disputes between the exporter and the buyer. I want to talk about 2 credit insurance policies quickly that are key for small business, that are very important for small business. If you have multiple foreign buyers, but not more than 10 or less, and if you have not been offering credit terms for more than 5 years, this policy would be fabulous for you. It's for exporters with $10 million or less in export credit sales in the most recent year, 10 or fewer buyers, no more than 5 years of export credit insurance history or export credit history, excuse me, you can get this export credit insurance policy, this express policy very quickly, and it provides you 95% coverage. You don't have to cover every account debtor. If you have some very strong account debtors, you can exclude them, but it covers the account debtors you do want covered. If they're approved, you get 95% coverage. There's no discretionary credit limit. EXIM has to approve each of the buyers, but EXIM does so quickly. And there's no deductible, and it's an inexpensive policy for you to get into. Unlike the private credit insurance policies that might charge a $10,000 minimum premium, this is a $500 cost to get into the policy, and it's applicable against premiums or refundable against premiums. You'll notice the rates on the right-hand side. You're not dealing with a lot of different premium rates based on the quality of your buyer or the country of your buyer. You're solely paying a single premium rate based on the tenor that you're offering. So if you offered 60 days or less to all your customers, then you'd only have one premium to think about, the premium that's noted there. So the premium is determined by the tenor only, not the country of your customers, not the credit quality of your customers, only the tenor. So we've made this as simple a policy to use as possible. The policy that small businesses most often use the first time is this one, the single buyer, because I'll talk to exporters all the time that tell me, I only export on cash or letter of credit terms. It's got to be cash or letter of credit. And then they'll get a great opportunity for good business where the buyer refuses to pay cash or give a commercial LC terms. And so the exporter's faced with the dilemma. Do I go away from my general rule and offer credit terms to get this great business? And if they do, they want to do it on an exception basis. So they request a single buyer policy. So you come to EXIM Bank asking us to approve a single customer. You can get 90% coverage if we approve the buyer. There's no deductible. Again, it's very inexpensive for you to enter this policy, $500 minimum premium for the policy. But the premium is determined on the country and the tenor. So you look at the example we gave here, it's the UAE. It's the price for a premium in the UAE per the different tenors that you see, 60, 120, 180, 270, et cetera. For non-financial institution risk and a financial institution risk, it's probably going to always be non-financial institution risk in y'all's case. But that gives you an example. You can click on that link that you'll get in the presentation from Heidi and see the calculator to compute the premium on a single buyer policy. This is the policy, and the reason why I included it, it is the policy that people most often use with us the first time they're new to EXIM Bank. It's a single buyer. The eligibility criteria for you, the exporter, to use our credit insurance products. You must be in business for 1 year. You've got to have a DUNS number or financial statements or tax returns. It can, if you're sole proprietorship, it can be your personal tax return if the business, runs through you. That's fine as well. We have a new identifier in the U.S. government known as the UEI, the Unique Identity Identifier, that everyone who does business with the U.S. government must have it. And we have folks at EXIM that can help you obtain it. That's something to consider as well. Unlike the SBA, we have two rules that you got to keep in mind. Our policies have a U.S. content requirement, both our insurance policies and our working capital guarantee program. The products have to have at least 51% U.S. content, not including your profit margin. You can include labor, you can include overhead, you can include all cost allocations that you can, but you can't include the net profit margin. Just the pure profit margin can't be included in the computation of the 51% U.S. content. Congress requires us to finance U.S. products, so we have the 51% U.S. content requirement for the short-term programs. We also cannot deal with military or defense-related transactions. There's some exceptions to that. If you're selling an ambulance to the Peruvian military, something humanitarian like that, or firefighting equipment to a foreign military, we could probably get it waived, but those would be exceptions. We do have coverage though in over 180 countries, so we can help you worldwide. But the two things that you have to remember with us that are specific to EXIM Bank are the 51% U.S. content and the fact that you got to ship from the U.S. 51% U.S. content, and the product has to be shipped from the United States. We very much, as kind of a closing comment, we very much suggest that you work through a credit insurance broker. If you go to xm.gov, our webpage, and you put in the search engine brokers, it should get you to our referral list of insurance brokers. You can find a broker by your state. The brokers that cover your state are listed. Those brokers work for you for free. They help you identify which policy is best for you in your specific situation. They help you apply for the policy with Ex-Im Bank or with private credit insurers. They help you get it set up, monitor it, use it so that if you ever do have a claim, it's not going to be denied. They're fabulous and they work for you for free. They get paid by Ex-Im and by private insurers as parts of the premium. So your premium's not higher or lower because you use a broker or don't use a broker. There's no cost to you. So we certainly recommend that you get the assistance of a broker in choosing the right insurance product for you. My contact information, I apologize for the problem we had with the technical setup a while ago, but here's my contact information. Please don't hesitate to contact me at any time with any questions. In addition to working with the SBA, who we highly recommend, they have great programs that can help you as exporters. We also try to point you in the direction of the Department of Commerce because they can very much help you on the marketing side, especially through the U.S. Commercial Service offices abroad. They can help you find distributors, customers, promote your products. So could not recommend more highly both the Commerce Department and the SBA. That's it, Rudy.
All right, Michael. No worries, man. Like I said, when your electricity goes out due to a storm, it is what it is. But in any case, we were able to recover, and I appreciate your doing so. Ladies and gentlemen, the information that was provided, I know was kind of a lot of information all at whack. That's one of the reasons that we're sending the presentations to you guys so you can use it as a resource on an ongoing basis. But I want to tell you that I've been at this for quite some time now, and the companies that I see that really make a lot of progress in terms of increasing their international sales are those that make use of these programs. I mean, there really isn't a reason not to do that, and it just makes all the difference in the world, because at the end of the day, here's the reality: is the lifeblood of every business is the banks and bank financing. But they have risk. They're risk averse, and they're regulated by the government in terms of how much risk they can take. And as a consequence of that, when you have a tool like the Ex-Im insurance and SBA backing, when you're dropping a bank's risk by 90%, I mean, they're going to be much more likely to take on that loan, because quite frankly, at the end of the day, unless you default on day one, they're going to get back all their money. And so it's just a real win-win. And so once again, if you want to grow your exports, these two entities, the SBA and Ex-Im, and all the things that they covered, like the STEP grants, are just tools that are just unbeatable in terms of trying to increase your sales and making you much more attractive to potential buyers. And with that, Jonathan, do you have anything that you want to say?
No, thank you both. That was very informative. I think you will be a great resource for the people on this webinar. I hope that they do know that they can reach out to both of you guys directly and use you, and that's what you're here for. I've worked with both of you in the past and know how much success that you can bring. So
I do want to make sure that we ask, give some time for some questions. So if anyone has a question at this time, if you would please raise your hand. We'd love to take any questions you might have for both Michael and Reggie. Wow. Well, I guess it looks like there's no questions, and You guys did a fabulous job. In any case, we are going to be sending out these presentations. Miss Heidi, if you would go ahead and put up the contacts list, would appreciate it. Oh yes, and also Miss Heidi's reminding us that we have a short survey that we would really appreciate if you would take time to fill out. Obviously, the only way that we can continue to improve our presentations to you is to know where perhaps we're short on, or perhaps additional topics that you would like us to cover about international business, and the survey is the tool that we utilize to help us make those improvements. So if you would take your time and fill it out, would really appreciate it.
There's our contact information.
Yeah, Heidi, yeah, if you could put up the contact information, huh?
Okay, sorry. Here we go.
Yeah, you guys might take a picture of that if you wish. That way you'll have it. All righty. Well, Michael and Reggie, thank you again for taking time to present, and fabulous information. And I look forward to having everyone contact you to ask the questions. Here's a great picture of the last year's Governor's Awards, a fantastic event that Jonathan put together last year. As he took on the chairmanship of the Arkansas District Export Council. And it's a great event to attend and hobnob with all the importer, exporter folk, and get to meet people that can increase your business from an international perspective. And so we hope that you'll look forward to attending that. And if you have any questions about the event, you can contact Heidi, and you hopefully took her information a second ago, and contact her about the event, and she'll provide you with whatever information you need to help you attend it. It's going to be October the 6th, starting at 5:30 p.m. All right, guys. Well, thank you again. Oh, yes. One last thing. So we've got 2 more webinars coming up. October the 18th, doing business in Canada, and on November the 29th, Incoterms. 2 fantastic topics, super important topics, especially Incoterms, because if you get that wrong, that could be a really sad day for you. So you definitely don't want to get your Incoterms wrong. So unless you have lots and lots of experience, I very strongly recommend that you attend that class in particular. All right, guys. Well, God bless, and thank you again for participating in this webinar. Have a great day.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.